The EU is in danger of losing its soul. Those are the words of Commissioner Frans Timmermans talking about the bloc's response to the Syrian and African refugee crisis. EU leaders promised back in 2015 to relocate 160,000 refugees from Greece and Italy to the bloc's other member states, but only 11,966 have so far been accommodated under the scheme.
There should be more peer pressure among member states so that everybody does their share, and I think it is highly unfair to leave that only to Greece and Italy. I think this should be a collective responsibility of all member states to hold each other accountable for what they agreed to do and what we decided to do.
The 9th progress report on the EU's emergency relocation scheme has just been published. It shows that Austria, Hungary and Poland have not relocated a single refugee despite signing up to the scheme. Slovakia and Czech Republic have only taken in a tiny number as part of the initiative. The lack of unity and solidarity on this issue and many others reinforces the argument that the EU is dysfunctional and could break up, according to analysts.
Well, I think it's a danger. It is a danger. I think certainly, even if it doesn't fall apart, we're going to see a new EU with new priorities. And it's a shame that the EU didn't change before the Brexit vote, because if the EU had changed and had not been so arrogant, I don't think the UK would have voted to leave.
Children are prioritised under the EU's refugee relocation scheme, but that's no use when the initiative has never really gotten off the ground. Last year alone, 10,000 refugee children went missing in the EU. It is feared many have been subjected to sexual exploitation and also slave labour. The European Commission says it is considering taking legal action against EU countries to force them to comply with the relocation scheme. The European Commission taking countries to court on this issue is pointless, according to campaigners. The process can take months and sometimes years, and in the meantime the situation for refugees in Greece and Italy remains dire.
Are we witnessing the beginning of the end for the European Union? It's been shaken by fiscal, debt and migrant crises, the rise of the far right and, of course, Brexit. The former Greek finance minister and top economist Yanis Varoufakis, who clashed repeatedly with his Eurozone counterparts over their vision for the future, thinks the European Union needs urgent reform and that his country was unfairly punished by the EU's elites. Will Greece be a member of the Eurozone and or the European Union in a year or 2 years' time, in your view?
I think that this is the wrong question, allow me to say. The right question is there going to be a Eurozone and the European Union
in 1
or 2 years' time? Remember,
and your answer
Greece
to that
is
question?
not that important. Well, the way we're going, I cannot see Italy remaining in the Eurozone for very long. You see, when you allow an epidemic to start spreading from a place like Greece to Spain, to Italy, to Ireland, then eventually it gets to a place like Italy. Do you realize that now, as we speak, only one political party in Italy wants to keep Italy in the Eurozone? Greece, I insist on this, Greece should not be important. The only reason why we keep talking about Greece is because it is symptomatic of the architectural design faults and crisis of the Eurozone. This is what we should be focusing on.
It's a busy morning at the FTV car offices in Berlin. Here they design and engineer digital product services. Basel Kassem has been part of the team here for more than 12 months. He came to Germany from Syria nearly 2 years ago. As a skilled web designer, he was able to find a good job. But he realizes not all refugees coming to Germany are as fortunate.
Those people are tired. They were living in a very bad situation, and they need just some time to evaluate the situation. They will need time to learn about this culture and to understand the system, understand the labor market, so also the language as well. So it's not going to happen in 1 second or 1 year.
A glance at the statistics bears that out. Between January 2015 and March of last year, nearly 230,000 people of all ages were granted asylum in Germany. By last March, around 150,000 of working age had registered as unemployed and looking for work. But government agencies believe the total jobless number could be higher, as they think 2/3 of Syrian women are neither in a job nor looking for one.
Looking after the people who have come to Germany is costing a lot of money.
More than $20 billion has been allocated to the individual states, both to house the refugees and to integrate them into society with language classes.
The European Union could suffer another major political defeat next month if, as the polls predict, the Dutch choose Geert Wilders as their next prime minister. Wilders compares the European Union to the end of the Roman Empire, and he says it's only a matter of time until the EU is gone.
Some say he will be the next nail in the European Union's coffin. Dutch politician Geert Wilders' anti-EU, anti-immigration Party for Freedom is on track to win national elections in March.
You know, the people are fed up with politicians ignoring the problems. The people are fed up by if they say something about the influx of the mass immigration from mostly Islamic countries, what they really feel as a threat, what really is a threat, they are being called racist if they make a remark about, hey, this is not our country anymore. Those are common people. Those are not racist or people. And at the same time, people saw, while the government had this enormous austerity measures, that the government spent billions of euros to asylum seekers who really were not asylum seekers, but migrants looking for a better life. And once again, I don't even blame the people for trying to have a better life here. I blame our government to allow it to happen, to not say enough is enough. You are not a refugee, and we have to defend our own country and close our borders. A country without a border is like a person and a house without a front door. Anybody can enter, and you cannot ask anybody to leave. So it's not a real country at all.
What do you hope is the future of the European Union?
I'm against the European Union, as I told you, but I'm very much in favor of Europe. Europe is my home. Europe is my continent. Europe is where we live. The European Union is a political, bureaucratic organization that took away our identity and our national sovereignty. So I want to get rid of the European Union and be a nation state again. Both the Eurozone and the European Union is like the end of the Roman Empire. It's already started. In a few years' time, it will not be there anymore. Don't ask me whether it will be 2 years or 10 years, but the end is near, like the Roman Empire. It's gone. We need to have an exit, like Brexit, an exit, and leave the European Union. That's inevitable.
Putting France first. That's the cornerstone of Marine Le Pen's campaign strategy. The far-right firebrand's hoping to ride a wave of populism right to the Elysée as she launches her bid for the presidency.
Against a right wing of money and a left wing of money, I am the people's candidate for France.
She wants to persuade voters that sharp curbs in immigration, a clampdown on so-called Islamic extremism, and a radical renegotiation of the nation's relationship with the European Union hold the key to her vision of a safer, stronger France for the future. Le Pen's anti-establishment rhetoric's drawn comparison with Donald Trump, particularly with the two of them focusing on a perceived threat from Muslim immigrants. The National Front leader isn't just seeking to deport foreigners suspected of having links with radical Islamist groups. She wants to close mosques under similar suspicion, and is proposing a strict migration cap as well. On the economy, Le Pen wants a radical adjustment in France's relationship with the EU. In particular, she's seeking an eventual substitution of the franc for the euro, a pullout from the Schengen free travel zone, and even a possible departure from the EU altogether. Though she's determined any so-called Frexit would be highly controlled, unlike the UK's Brexit referendum where no plan to leave existed.
I will announce the organization of a referendum within the first 6 months of my mandate on whether to stay or leave the EU. I will then engage in talks with our partners to renegotiate the terms of our contract with this tyrannical Europe system.
The UK's Remain voters saw some of their hopes dashed on Wednesday evening as members of the House of Commons overwhelmingly backed a Brexit bill to let the government begin the UK's departure from the EU. A total of 494 MPs voted in favour of the bill, 122 against, meaning Theresa May could meet her target of triggering formal Brexit talks by the end of March. Well, that despite the fact that many members of the House had previously campaigned against exiting.
which was a bit of a surprise given that at least two-thirds of the British MPs actually were in favour of us staying in the EU. But overwhelmingly they've shifted to say we accept the view of the public, the majority view of the public is to leave the EU. We as the Parliament have to represent that view of the public.
Just the sight of it triggers all kinds of conspiracy theories, all the more so now that Germany has announced it'll bring home some of its gold much earlier than planned. It holds the second biggest bullion reserves in the world, 3,378 tons. It was stashed away in safe havens like Paris and New York during the Cold War, out of Moscow's reach. But with Europe stumbling from crisis to crisis, the German public has grown increasingly nervous about keeping it abroad.
Our stockpiles were accumulated abroad, not here, partly during the economic wonder years. It was stored on-site abroad. It was at no time transferred from Germany.
The move is happening 3 years ahead of schedule, prompting some to question Germany's confidence in the euro. The speculation that gold could be needed to back a new Deutschmark should the Eurozone break up.
It's very difficult to talk specifically about how the Bundesbank is going to handle these pressures. But yeah, it has certainly, the Eurozone has come under a lot of kind of pressure from financial market turmoil and currency market turmoil also. So it's possible that may have fed into the decision-making process to some extent.
Only half of Germany's gold will be moved, though. The rest will be kept in the key gold trading markets of London and New York. The Bundesbank insisting that Trump was not a factor in speeding up the schedule. But the relocation hasn't been cheap. So far it's cost nearly 7 million euros. Compared to the 120 billion euros of gold it holds, it's clearly something Germany can afford.